All right, so we are picking up right where we left off with the last video, and we're going to finish getting this blade frame bolted up to the front of this tractor. We are a little close to this molding piece here. We're going to take that off, get it bolted into place, then we'll put it back on. We might have to put a little angular cut on here to get that to fit in there correctly. If you didn't follow along in the last video, we ended up pulling the front wheels off of this so that we could add 1,440 pounds of weight to the inside of each wheel here. So we've got the front end done. Once we get this blade bolted up and into place, we'll go ahead and pull the wheels off the rear, add the weight to those, get them back on there. Then we can install our dual hubs and get the duals on. Now, another thing I wanted to bring to your attention, Olight is back on board. They were on a little bit of a hiatus for a little bit. They sent me this Javelot flashlight. It is a, that comes with this pocket or belt clip pocket like type deal here. This Javelot's a little different than the other light that I carry. It does have a side switch and it also has a tail switch. So go ahead and check the link in the description for Olight. You can get 10% off if you use Andy FFF in the discount code box. However, the discounts do not apply to their sale items. So we will get right after it here with getting this unit bolted up. And once we get it bolted up and get our wheels straight, then what we're going to do is we're going to bring in the actual framework that's going to lift and lower the blade itself. So we'll get after it here. All right, so we have the actual frame piece that goes on the tractor. We've got that completely on there. Everything is all bolted into place. Everything is torqued. We've got it shimmed correctly. What I mean by that is they give you shims to put in between this blade frame and the tractor frame. They give you 3 thick ones and they give you 3 thin ones. Why they don't give you 4 and 4, I don't know. But it took me a little bit to get it where I wanted it. I started with a thin one first. They said if you have any more than a 1/16 of an inch, go ahead and shim it. I thought I was just going to be shimming the one side with a thin one. So I put the thin one in there, tightened the bolts all up, and then once I got it tight, it did move enough to get a thick one in and then one. There was some more room. So we took the bolt, loosened all the bolts up, pulled the thin shim out, and what I have in there is I have a thick shim on each side. I'll show you what these shims look like. They're just these guys here. This one goes in the front. You put the rear and the front bolt in, and then you could just slide this down in there and it'll set over the top of the bolts. It won't fall out of the way, and then your other holes will line up. Another nice thing that they give you, I didn't use this one on the left side because there's some little module that mounts in that frame rail on the left side. And we put regular nuts back on those bolts. But they send you this bracket here. You put the flange nuts in the back side of the bracket, get it held up into place, get your bottom front bolt in, get it kind of tight. You line up your other ones, and then this guy here is your wrench for your nuts. They've got the same similar thing to the front of the blade, which you can't see it all that well. We'll roll in underneath the tractor. But there's 6 bolts. There's 6 or 7. 1, 2, 4, 6. There's 7 bolts in the front side of this frame. Now on this left side, or this right side rather, there is a coolant line, and I had a heck of a time getting in there to get the bolts off for the weight bracket. That weight bracket basically used the same bolts. We'll roll in underneath here and we'll show you what their little nut plate looks like for the front. What it is about a 3/4 inch piece of steel, and it's got threaded holes into it that works as your bolting plate. That worked out very nicely for being able to get that in there so that we didn't have to have a wrench on it. I don't know if you guys could see that or not, but it's a bronze colored nut plate, and then we've got a steel coolant line coming up that one side. Now another thing I did, and here's the left side. I don't know if you could see that or not. I won't know if you'll be able to see it until I get to editing this video. Now the one thing I was concerned about was how close those bolts were going to be to that coolant line. So I've got the top one in the front and the middle one, I've got those washered up just so that the bolt wasn't going to, well, as long as we're underneath here, just so the bolt, the edge of that bolt wasn't going to come in to contact or get anywhere near the coolant line. Now another thing, they've got 24mm holes threaded in the bottom of this tractor frame. We ran a tap through, now there's 4 and 6, 10. We ran a tap in the bottom side of those threaded holes. You can kind of see the rear one that you don't use. However, in the back, there's 3 on each side, and it holds a angle plate that goes down to bolt into the actual frame plate itself. Now another thing it has, we'll skid underneath this air hose here. Another thing that it has is a bracket in the back that bolts into the actual tractor frame, and then they have you thread in 4. No, there's 8 altogether, 4 on a side, 1-inch bolts that kind of kick up against that. I don't know if it's 1-inch plate that goes all the way across. It's part of the frame of the tractor, and then we've got 7/8 bolts going down through the frame of the tractor into the back side of this blade assembly. Another thing that I've noticed while I was underneath here, I gotta get turned around here. I have a steel line that is coming into contact with, air hose out of the way. It's coming into contact with another steel line, and what I've got to get is I've got to get a steel tube holder, and I'm going to weld it to the frame right here. I can't quite push on that enough now, but I'm going to weld it to the frame and then bolt this to it. It is kind of pulled out of the back here. I don't know why. I thought maybe there was a bolt missing from this guy here, but it doesn't appear that there's a spot to be able to put a bolt in there anywhere. So we're just going to weld a new steel tube holder there so that we can keep them pipes from chafing against each other. What we've got to do now is we have to set our wheels. We need to move these wheels in. They want 4 inches of room, a minimal of 4 inches of room between the tire and the blade frame. I might leave a little more than that. I had 13 inches of axle sticking out. You can kind of see where the back one is. we could probably run these wheels out a couple of inches, just so that when dirt and mud roll around this tire, well, just so that, you know, that tire is going to be about here, and it'll allow keeping this area a little cleaner. So we're going to get the forklift on here, lift this wheel up, and shove it in. we've got the front wheels set where we want them. We are about an inch out further than where this tractor was set when we got it. We had 13 inches of axle sticking out when we started, and we've got 12 inches sticking out. They wanted 4 inches between the frame and the tire. We've got about 5. I felt we had enough room to suck that out an inch, just so that we weren't as close there. Now on these hubs, these are the heavy duty axles. We've got a flat side on each side. It's not the keyed axle with the splines in it. These are 12 bolt hubs, and these hubs here, they're not numbered. You have to look in the book and number them, number the studs so you can tighten them in a sequential order. I got 1 here, 2 there, 3's over here, and they alternate so that you can get that hub tightened down adequately. This is a tapered hub with a tapered wedge, and as it goes into that hub, it's squishing down on the axle. What we're doing now is we are getting ready to route these hoses up through the articulation joint of the tractor. Then we're going to send them back through to be able to be plugged into the SCVs on the back of the tractor. They give you a bracket. We've got the bolts removed from the little brackets that hold our steering cylinder pins in. I've got those bolts removed, and then they give you a little bracket here to set in on top to go between the 2 steering hoses. We'll walk the hoses up through there. We've got 6 hoses to run to the back of the tractor. We're going to try to split them up, route them up through, take them to the back. We got them all laying on the floor here. Now another thing that I worked on, as I was laying underneath this tractor, I noticed 2 steel lines that were rubbing against each other. So I put a metal tube strap bracket on here, and that was a weld base. So we've got that welded in there, and that line secured. And you can see that smaller line that's above it is a good 3/4 of an inch away from it, so it's all mounted in there nice and tightly. So we'll go ahead and shove some 12mm bolts into this bracket that goes right on these steering cylinders. And then, like I said, the hoses are kind of come up through. There's a nice bracket with an angled little bend to it so that the hoses don't get all chafed. And then we'll try to route these so that they do a nice job getting to the back of the tractor without rubbing on anything. So let's go ahead and secure this bracket down. They give you 12mm bolts that are just a little longer than what came out, so as to adequately adapt to the thickness of that bracket, which is 1/4 of an inch. Jared's putting 2-way radios and everything. He did all the trucks in the fall, or most of them. He put a radio on this 9620 to the 82, doing the 8220 now. Did the 7290 earlier. Looks like we need a fender light on there, bub. Wonder who managed to break that one.
It wasn't broken that long ago.
No, wonder how we managed to do that. Huh.
That was on the little room.
Oh, snow maybe off the roofs.
Yeah.
Oh well. Well, we've got these hoses routed up through. They look like they are in a pretty good spot. What we need to do is get somebody in the tractor and just turn it back and forth. And then we'll put some hangers on here. We want to keep it out of that drive shaft there, and we want to keep it out of that pinch point. So we'll do that after we get this front hitch on there. We've got to push this frame into there. We'll pull them pins, get that lined up, pin it. We've got to hook the cylinder up, and then there's a linkage arm that goes from the top pin over to here. So we'll get that pinned up, and then we can start putting some oil to this to get the cylinders to do what we want, because we're not going to be able to move this once we get it on there. Once we get it on there, we're going to have to have it raise itself up, or we're not going to be able to move the tractor.
Nice.
All right, so we've got that on there. We've got to hook up these hoses appropriately here. And we've got some shims that we have to place in here. They had 3 shims on each side, and I've got to look in the book to see what goes where. I don't know if they want 2 on one side, 1 on the other. And we'll just have to see what there is to that. And then we've got like a faster coupler like type guy over here. And we'll have to get the hoses hooked to that appropriately as well. Just a nice cap to put over that, and then bingo. Yeah. Okay, so we have everything all hooked up. Now it has a faster style coupler on here. I don't know as if I really like the way these hoses are, because I don't want them rubbing the hood, but I think I might be able to zip tie them right here. I tried bringing them up through here, and the handle didn't want to work that way. So we have it like that. Jeez, it doesn't want to lock there. It's locked. That'll lock the fast plate coupler on. That goes up to the blade. Got all of our pins in, hoses are hooked up. So we'll go ahead and juice things up, get this platform raised up off the ground, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this up and weigh it with this frame on there, so we know how much it weighs right now. And then we're going to bring it back down to the shop. We're going to pull the rear wheels off, put the weights on them, and then we'll start putting the duals on. Actually, yeah, we'll start putting the duals on. I need to weigh the blade as well. I think what I can do with the blade is take the pieces up and weigh them individually. I don't think I can get on, well, I'm not going to be able to get on the scale with the duals on the tractor unless I pull the bumpers off, which we could do that, and we probably should do that and weigh some of these tractors that have duals on them to get an idea of how much they weigh. Now this tractor weighed 42,000 pounds total with just single tires on it. No weight, no blade, and it weighed 26,000 up front, 16,000 on the rear. All right, so the camera kicked off here for whatever reason. So it grossed 42,000 without the silage frame on there and no weight. Single tires, had the hubs on there, and whatever. We've got weight added to the inner wheels, and we've got the frame on there. So we want to get a weight of it so that we can ballast this tractor accordingly. For the most part, when it's out doing tillage, it's just going to be like this with the duals on there. With the silage blade on there, that's going to add quite a bit more weight for packing bunk and whatnot. But I don't think we're going to need much weight up front. I put the inners on there just because. It's the easiest time to do them is right meow. So let's go ahead and raise this up, and we'll run it up to the scale and weigh it. What I need to do is I need to do some figure eights with it, and do a lot of jerking around with steering and maybe hitting potholes and whatever, because what we need to do is we need to bring this back in the shop and we need to tighten up these hub bolts and then torque them. We want to do that before we put the dual hub on, because once the dual hub is on here, it's harder to torque these, it's harder to tighten them. I do have an angled like bracket like that type deal, but then we're doing all this by hand. At least this way we can get the impact in there, get them snug, and then go in and touch them off with the impact. So let's see if we've got any hydraulic leaks. We'll raise this guy up in the air, and then we'll take it up and weigh it. So we've got this push bar on there. This is not, no, it's not a push bar. It is just a guard to keep haylage from screwing up the front of the hood. And because most would think it's a push bar, they have to put this sticker on there, not for pushing or pulling, because there is dummies that would do that. That is just basically on there for a hog that has silage come up over the top of the blade, and then they get pushing into it, and it's just, sometimes there's slobs that do that. So that's why they've got that on there. So let's go ahead and raise this up.
You're gonna drive this? Oh yeah. This, you gotta keep these over here somehow.
Yeah, I know. Maybe we can put a bracket on here and just loop it, you know.
Yeah, it just needs to hold
I tried bringing them up through here.
What is this?
That's your faster coupler. So this
What's on the blade?
This comes off. This is just our cap. Yeah, but see, we can't turn it that way because it won't. Unless, I don't know if we can.
Can we shove it this way?
No. No, I don't know. It won't. I don't know. Maybe it'll go down like that. Maybe that'll work. Well, that went and raised itself up. I had a hose pop out of the back of the tractor, out of one of them SCVs. That's why it didn't raise right away. But that is all set up and ready for a blade. We just gotta put the blade together yet. We really don't like the way these hoses are. Maybe I can make up a bracket out of here just to tie them. so they're not rubbing the hose. I've got to keep them kind of that way because of the way that handle works. So we'll take this up, get it weighed, see what it weighs, see what that silage frame weighs. We'll have to subtract the 1,440 pounds that we put on each wheel. Judging by the way the tires are squatting and by what them tires looked like when it came in the shop, there's quite a bit of weight added to it there with the silage blade and the weights. So we'll take this on out of here and weigh it.